So Luka now has 200 points in his first 5 games this season, tied for third most all-time behind Wilt Chamberlain.
Historic. That's the best way to describe what Luka Doncic is doing to the NBA this season. But it's not just what he's doing, it's how he's doing it.
Last night, I was expecting Wemby to be the best defensive player on the floor. That happened to be Luka. 5 steals, 2 blocks. Luka Doncic?
That's right. Luka Magic outshined the alien in defensive performance, something that people have always criticized him for. And wait until you hear what certain people Luka has mastered that's making him pull off these historic numbers. But before we get to that, you have to understand that what Luka is doing this season is historic not only in numbers, but in narrative. And to understand why we said that, we have to take a look at the numbers he started this season with. The numbers Luka Doncic has been putting up this season are crazy, but it's not just the numbers, it's the way he's doing it.
Luka in the 5 games he's played, ladies and gentlemen, MVP numbers. He's averaging 40.
That right there is not just a hot streak. This is not January Luka. This is the Los Angeles version of him who arrives slimmer, faster, and somehow more unstoppable than he's ever been. Through the first 12 games of the season, Luka is sitting at 37 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists. That is the closest thing we've seen to Wilt Chamberlain level scoring mixed with prime LeBron playmaking. And here is the crazy part. It is efficient. Luka is hitting 49% from the field, 37% from 3, and almost 90% from the free throw line. And he's doing it while carrying an offense that is missing LeBron. But this is where things start to get scary. The Lakers have had legends walk into this building. Magic, Kareem, Shaq, Kobe, LeBron. Yet no one, not one of them, has ever scored 92 points in the first 2 games of a season. Luka did that, which brings up the, what made Luka Doncic explode like this? Well, Gilbert Arenas thinks he mastered the game in a certain way.
What is Luka master at again?
Deception. The ability to get shots from himself and for other people.
Is this the reason why Luka Doncic has become the first guard in NBA history to open a season with over 200 points? Does that explain everything he's been doing since getting traded from Dallas? Well, speaking of trades, think you've got an edge on what's coming next? We are partnering with Kalshi, and they turn your predictions into possibilities. It's the first CFTC regulated exchange where you can trade yes-no event contracts on real-world questions, from inflation to major legislation to the next big breakout in entertainment. Like, if I wanted to trade for Nikola Jokic to be the MVP this year, I just go to my Kalshi app, navigate to the NBA awards, select the yes-no event for NBA MVP, place my trade amount, enter my birthday, and complete sign-up. And then, when the Joker wins, I get paid. Everyone has something they follow closely, whether it's markets, sports, politics, or pop culture. You do the research, you follow the trends, and you trust your instincts. Kalshi gives you a way to put that knowledge to work. Let's say you're convinced the Fed will raise rates, or you've got a gut feeling about who's taking Game 7 of the NBA Finals. On Kalshi, you can trade on those insights, turning your opinions into outcomes. And just like the NBA brings that tip-off to buzzer-beater intensity, Kalshi brings that same thrill to your insight. You're not sitting on the sidelines with an opinion, you're in the game. Over 1 million users have already joined, with more than $2 billion traded, and it's completely legal and regulated in all 50 states. These are real money markets where people like you are trading on what they believe will happen. And here's what makes Kalshi stand out. It even pays interest on long-term positions, meaning you can earn while you wait for an outcome to play out. Join Kalshi, the marketplace for people who don't just cheer from the stands, they trade what's next. Your prediction, your contract, your move. Head over to Kalshi.com/hoopers and get $20 when you trade $100. Turn your "I've got a feeling" into action today. A huge shout out to Kalshi for partnering with us. Let me know in the comments what you traded and if you think your trade can win. Well, we do know one thing. Luka Doncic has long been known for his mastery of the offensive game. But what makes this season different is the fact that he's also showing up on the other side of the court this time. And even Kendrick took notice.
Last night, I was expecting Wemby to be the best defensive player on the floor. That happened to be Luka. 5 steals, 2 blocks. Luka Doncic, all over the place, making the impact.
Now, this is not normal for a point forward. It's historic. But why is it happening now? Well, it could just be that Luka Doncic is right in his prime as an athlete. But it could also be that he was traded away from a team he loved in a very disrespectful way. Maybe what we're witnessing is the revenge of a superstar who carried a franchise to the conference finals and the NBA finals and was still getting disrespected. And why? Because the front office believed defense wins championships. And we will talk about the irony of that phrase in a bit. But another thing that might have set off Luka is how people kept calling him fat and unconditioned. Many analysts, fans, and even some former players couldn't help poking fun at his weight, even while he was still dropping wild numbers. But now, more and more people are coming to the realization that Doncic really has so much more to do and give to the modern game.
What is the stats that he has as this fat man is in shape? What is the in shape man have right now?
Slim down Luka.
The slim down, not the fat one. What does the slim down one have?
So Slim Slovenian Jesus averaging 40 points, 11 rebounds, 9.2 assists in 5 games this season.
So it's pretty clear that statistically Luka's season has been historic so far. But because of what's happening in Dallas, it's also historic for its narrative context. When Dallas traded Luka, they announced one message over and over: defense wins championships. Nico Harrison repeated that phrase so many times, adding that time will prove that he made the right decision. Well, as we all know, things didn't go as planned. Offensively, the Mavericks became one of the weakest teams in the league. Their scoring plunged, their efficiency cratered, their spacing disappeared. Their pace slowed to a crawl. Their playmaking dried up, and that's not the worst part. At least, surely the defense would have improved since that was the main point for the trade, right? Wrong. After conceding over 115 points per game, it's clear that there has been no improvement on that end. And while the team collapsed, the fans erupted. While these chants were going on in that game, a Luka fan seemed to be having a chat with the Mavs' major owner, Patrick Dumont. So what were they discussing? Well, here's NBA insider Shams with the gist.
He admitted to a kid courtside on Monday night during that loss against Milwaukee. My understanding, he told this fan that interacted with him that the Mavericks are going to be taking accountability and that they made a mistake with the Luka Doncic trade.
And indeed, actions were taken to try to right that wrong. So the next day, Nico Harrison was fired. A man who spent years building the roster, a man who insisted time would prove him right, was removed exactly because time did the opposite. But Shaq doesn't see it as accountability. He saw it as scapegoating.
As part of the business, when you're in a powerful position, sometimes you become what's known as the scapegoat when things don't go well.
But he's not the only one that thinks like that.
Go. Listen, Shaq knows this, Kenny knows this. There's no way in the world Nico Harrison had the power to trade Luka Doncic unless the owner of the team signed
Patrick Dumont.
And we'll soon get to how Luka Doncic reacted to the firing of Nico. But first, how far can Luka Doncic take his historic season? For a long time, people have always criticized Luka for his weight. But some people do it constructively, asking, what would a slimmer Luka Doncic be like? Well, we're starting to witness it. Right now, he's putting up 37 a night on the best efficiency of his career. He's also giving you 9 assists a game while keeping the turnovers down, even though he's carrying one of the highest usage rates in the league. These days, Luka's either walking up into a pull-up 3 or putting his shoulder down and getting all the way to the basket, where he's finishing almost 70% of the time. And he's elite in the pick and roll too. But the real shock this year has been on the defensive end. His steals are way up, his blocks have doubled, and his overall defensive rating is sitting in territory you usually see from high-end stoppers, not primary creators. He's getting deflections, loose balls, and he's actually affecting shots at the rim when he rotates over. So, even if Nico Harrison is right to say defense wins championships, Luka Doncic would still offer more than Anthony Davis, who is always injured. By the way, here's that reaction from Luka about Nico's firing that I mentioned earlier.
City of Dallas, the fans, players, they always have a special place in my heart. You know, I thought I was gonna stay there forever, but I didn't. So they'll always be a special place for me. Always I can call it home. But right now I'm focused on the Lakers, you know, trying to move on.
Can you imagine what it would mean if Luka ends up delivering a title in June? That would close the story in a poetic way. The franchise that walked away from him ends up watching him lead the Lakers to a championship. And LeBron, after 2 decades of carrying teams, becomes the bridge to the next era of the league. What a story that will be. However, one thing is clear so far about this new Lakers, and it's no longer LeBron James's team. And maybe that and not getting an extension is making LeBron sour. 37 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists on elite efficiency, 200 points in 5 games, multiple 40-point triple-doubles, Wilt-level scoring in a modern era. And while Nico Harrison hoped that time would prove him right, it only proved that Luka was the one they should have never let go. Time proved the trade was a disaster. But how far do you see Luka Doncic going this season? Or is this just one of those situations where the Lakers start hot and fiddle out midway through the season? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. But hey, Luka Doncic is not the only one going crazy this season. Another player who's going crazy this NBA season early on is Anthony Edwards. So, watch something different is developing with Anthony Edwards next to get the full gist on how this happened.